Are you charging the right amount when you're working with clients? Lori Rice is going to help you figure out if you are.
But you're giving them your special touch and maybe their product in it. And so you want to charge more than that. You just have to figure out what that is. When I go to the grocery store, that's part of my time. So the clock starts there.
Hey there, I'm Jason Logston, and this is Makin Bacon, all about helping you serve your fans, grow your income, and get the most out of your blog. One of the most difficult things you run into when you start working with clients, whether you're doing photography for them, social media consulting, or any sort of consulting work, is figuring out what should you charge. A lot of things go into the pricing decision, and it can be really stressful not knowing if you're charging too much, not charging enough. Most people are just looking for a rate that's going to fairly compensate them for the work that they're putting in. Well, during a recent podcast interview I did with Lori Rice, a professional photographer, we dove into the concept of pricing, how she figures it out, and a few different tips and tricks she uses to make sure that you can be charging the right amount. If someone's just getting started and it's a first or second time they're working with somebody, what does make sense for fair compensation for this type of work without overcharging or undercharging?
Well, for one thing, you can approach it by first asking if they have a budget for the project. That's how I've started approaching it. They should know what their budget is for photography and recipe development. They should be able to give you a number.
I think that was a good way to think about it. Everyone that would be interested is like, well, what do I charge? Like, that's the first question they always ask. So that was really good. Like, what's your budget? And I'll tell you what I can do.
Yeah, I've really tried it. It's really tough to implement, but it does work, especially once you develop a relationship with people, it works. I know people who would think I'm way too low, and there's people that think I'm way too high. And not all the projects for me are the same anymore, since I've kind of done that approach, like, you tell me your budget. The main thing is that you need to figure out how much you want per hour. I had a career prior to going out on my own and doing this, so I had a base for what I could be earning if I was doing something else and what I should be earning now. So, and the main thing is that I make sure that I include all the time. When I go to the grocery store, that's part of my time. So the clock starts there. And if I have to go to 4 stores to find the ingredient, all of that is part of the time. So all of that is added in.
I really like you talking about you need to look at your overall time going into it, because I think a lot of food bloggers don't approach it as a business. And I know even I had a revelation probably 2 years ago when I was doing I think it was a sponsored post or some writing for a company, and we had a bunch of emails back and forth and the shopping and all this stuff. And I ended up making like $5 an hour working on it. Yeah. And then my background's in web development. So I do web development consulting, and I was writing up a new contract form, and I have it down like, if we talk on the phone, it's a 15-minute charge. It doesn't matter if it's a 2-minute call, it's a 15 minutes. If I do this, it's going on the budget. I was like, why do I have this whole list of things that I'm charging for like the right way? And then on the food blogger one that's paying me like a fifth as much money per hour, I am just doing random things for them and wasting my time. And I was like, this is what I tell people all the time to avoid. And now I'm in the middle of doing it.
Right. It's hard. It's a learning process. I mean, I'm still at a point where they'll be like, oh, I've got to put that in the contract, or oh, I've got to redo that, When it comes to images, it's difficult to give a dollar amount because it really depends on how they're going to use the image. One of the ways that I like to kind of go and figure it out, which I think I told you this once, is if you go to websites like stockfood.com, you can go to an image and you can put in the specifications. You want it to be printed, you want it to be, advertisement, or you just want it web use. And you can put in the dimensions, and it'll give you a price for what that stock photo would be. So what I did when I first started out is I looked at the price of what a stock photo would be for something similar, like pick something that has the same dimensions, is going to be about the same work that you would do. Look at that number, because they could go to that website and buy that photo for that amount of money, but you're giving them your special touch and maybe their product in it. And so you want to charge more than that. You just have to figure out what that is. But that's a really good base to start. That's how I researched it.
I think if food bloggers do that too, they'd be surprised at how expensive those stock photos are. That I think a lot of food bloggers have a habit of undercharging, not overcharging. And I think you'll go there and be like, oh, for print and this and that, it's $500 or $1,000 for a generic photograph.
Right.
So you can charge more than $50 if you're going to put in the time and energy to do it.
Right. I'm a realist. I've tried to be realistic about how my photos have progressed. I charged less in the beginning because my photo, I wasn't at that skill set yet. I wasn't using that equipment. I wasn't undervaluing myself. And I had a better fit with certain companies at that point. But as I know my skill set is increasing, and I know, the people that I've worked with keep coming back to me, then you kind of get to the point where you start to recognize you do have a skill in this and you will develop it if this is something that you really want to do. And so you gradually start increasing that price point every time you have a new customer come until, it's realistic. Like now you kind of get to the point where I like to approach it like, I worked with you before, what's your budget for this? Or they know what the price has been before, can I raise it with them?
Pricing is just one aspect of working with clients and brands. If you're interested in learning more about how to work with brands, check out this video. It goes into a ton more information about not only ways that you can work with brands, but also a lot of things you can do to really stand out in their eyes above other bloggers.